And I'm here at the bandsaw where I'll be cutting these templates. And this here is, I don't draw much and I don't draw dragons, but that's going to be a dragon themed hairpin. I hope that comes out well because that's going to be kind of time consuming. Then I have some other templates with experimental dragons. This one would be more abstract. I'll make a ring out of that. And this, I don't know if I'll do this. It's going to take some thought, but I really am into the ancient symbols. Sumerian for sure, but even the Inca, Mayan, etc., all the ancient symbols of the world. And this is from very, very old intaglio engraving. I don't know what you'd call that, but these are often carved in to the stone rather than, they don't protrude, they're carved in. So I don't know if I'll do anything with that, but sometimes I'll waste a lot of time experimenting and then get a lot out of that and then make a superior follow-up edition. I figured I'd show one more. This is another Dingear template, and it'll get additional details that aren't visible yet. And that is what I think will turn out to be a far superior Sandhill Crane. And as you can see, I got the wood where the sapwood is on one side and the heartwood is on the other. Well, here's the dung heap, and here be the results of the Sandhill Crane third attempt. And if you looky here, I took the time to split the wings, and on the other side the dark and white don't add up so well, but it still looks good. I actually prefer this side, but most people want symmetry, and anywho, there it be. That is Cocobolo, and I don't know how strong it'll be. It's literally joined by the old and new wood, mostly the sapwood, but it's connected here at the beak, so it may or may not be strong enough to survive use. That, as I say, is the second attempt. That's how it turned out. The second attempt is up here, and that is a piece of cherry wood that my, wow, that focus is absolutely treacherous. See, there we go. That was left to me by my stepdad, who's gone. And being cherry wood, I can't get the sharpness of detail with smaller pieces. It gets weak. Cocobolo is much stronger, but the same general idea. I split the wings, and I put a little bit of force on it to test it. I wasn't too thrilled with the results, so I thought I'd take the risk, and sure enough, it snapped. That there is actually a dough roller made of teak. I had a really nice Chinese guy stop by, and he showed me how to make northern Chinese noodles, and that requires kneading the dough and all of that, and really glad he did because it came out really good. I tried it and it worked really well, and now I can't stand bag noodles. But I had at first used the one of the Western, or I guess new style, where it has the spindle and it actually rolls. And I asked him, I said, well, do you use the old style single piece, or do you use one of these modern spindle types? He said he used the old type. So that inspired me to make up a nice teak dough roller, old-fashioned style. Works really well. I'll plop the camera back here. I guess I'm making an assumption that whoever's watching this might be interested in these hairpins. This is how the dragon came out. I am really not satisfied, but the difference between this and the Sandhill Crane is this is my first attempt at this. The second attempt will be a huge improvement, and then I think by the third I'll have it looking really nice. The wings are way too abstract. They just got mutilated in the grinding process, or the carving, I should say. But it's dual-sided. It's, I think it's pretty cool, but it's nothing really outstanding. Still neat, and again, the future editions will improve. My favorite piece of all time out of any of the work I've done, whether I'm building functional things or whatever, was my original cat hairpin, which I gave away to a lady who dearly loves her cat. And that's why I gave it to her, because my best friend in the world just happens to be a cat. I'm not a cat person, but he's my best friend. And I kind of missed this thing when I gave it away. So I made two more. They're not as fine as the original, but they're neat. And a lot of the hairpin, animal themed, it's two-dimensional. You look at it from here, and that's all you get. If you turn it this way or that way, there's not much going on. So these are full 3D cats. These are the cheap ones I make. When I only have a little tiny scrap that's really good for nothing else, I'll make a bird or whatever. This is, that's the original one if you watch the video. And if you look at the difference, really a lot of progress. This is a stronger piece of Cocobolo here, the original, so I was able to get smaller. But if you look at the bodies, they're ridiculous. They're too small, too arched up. I think the elegance here is a significant improvement. It's a little bit bulkier, but again, this wasn't the strongest piece of wood, so in a future edition, when I get the right piece of wood, I can slim it down just a little bit and make it a bit more elegant. These are tough, but this is what I call opportunistic art. I see the shape, which reminds me of a woman's whatever, and these are also both sides, but this is more just funny stuff. If I do one that's really nice, I might take it seriously. Just an abstract hairpin that was a really meager scrap. And then this was also a piece of trash, and I squeeze a donkey's head out of there. Someone who wants a donkey in their hair, there you go. This is an improvisational fork. All my forks now, I will concave the bowl area, and it increases the functionality of them. This isn't the most practical fork. It was just an idea I got. I drew it down, cut it, and commenced to making it. And this is also Cocobolo. Everything in here, with the exception of two things. This is the Ichthus spoon. I'm not a big fan of crosses. I understand the importance, but it just doesn't make me think of good things. I don't want to think of Jesus being pinned up to a piece of wood. I'd rather think of him in a different context. So this is the Ichthus. That's Catalox wood, one of my very favorite woods. It is an awesome wood. You make something out of this, it'll last for hundreds of years if it's taken care of. And they're really tough to give away, though. All these Christians out there, I say, hey, I got a gift for you, and they look at me, what's that? I don't want that. All right, well, don't take it. This is parsnip, or persimmon. Don't make any utensils out of this wood. It's neat. I think it's considered to be Florida ebony. It isn't. It's as soon as it gets wet, the grain rises. You can make it look really beautiful, but you have to coat it with something artificial, or it just doesn't. And that's gotten wet once, and it was really pretty before. These I've been using for a year. Those are really nice, in my opinion, really nice Cocobolo chopsticks. And when you want to shine them up, you take a Scotch-Brite, and they have to be very dry, and you just burnish them with a Scotch-Brite, and they will start to shine again. I use these frequently, so I don't bother with that. But these are the things I make out of scrap woods. And if you're interested in making your own chopsticks, this is kind of how I start. I get rips or pieces. You can do this on a table saw, kind of rough on a big piece is difficult on a table saw if you don't have a good blade. This is really hard, dense wood. But you get your squares however you do, or what would you call these? Well, we'll just call them cuts. And there are efficient ways and less efficient ways. I typically go primitive. And this is all rasp work. This is this turned into this with nothing but this. That's my favorite brand is Kutzall. This is carbide, and these things really last. And they work pretty well. I'll sneak in a regular tool steel, if that's what you call it, for a rasp when I need a little bit more, a bit more removal. And then once it starts, getting to that point, I'll switch over to the fine Kutzall rasp. And another reason to use a Kutzall is they're one of the few makers, if there are any more, that make a good full-sized carbide rasp. So these are not finished, but they're getting there. And I have more rasping to do. And then I sand them down and I got chopsticks. It does take a lot to focus though, because it's easy to take off too much. Because you have to remember when you're rasping, you're going to sand it probably with an 80 grit and work up to 100. I usually jump from 100 to 150, but there are other grits in between. But when you're rasping these, you don't want to overdo it. Save some for the sanding because it will shrink the size, especially with 80 grit or even 60. I'll move outside because I want to show some people who might be interested. This is you can't really see it in here, there's not enough room. It's a pretty tall Cocobolo walking stick. It's not a cane. And I left this here. I've got this fixation with self-defense functionality. Say, hurl that into something's eye or stick it in the mouth of a ravenous beast, and I think it will lose its appetite. That'll definitely open someone's eyes to see the error of their ways. And I'll give you a full view of that. It's a beautiful piece of wood that had some cracks in it, so it wasn't really useful for too much else. All right, I probably ought to check the focus as usual. See if I can trick it into focusing. You can't just adjust it. That doesn't work. You have to trick it. So here it is. That's how tall it stands. It's a pretty big piece of wood. Maybe a little on the heavy side for extensive hiking. But around the house, it's definitely not too much around a yard or something. But it's pretty stout. Again, this is Cocobolo, and oftentimes you'll have a stick made out of a lighter hickory, which is exceptionally strong for its weight. But it's nowhere near as hard as a good piece of Cocobolo. And when I was working on this, it had all sorts of beautiful, vibrant orange and purple colors. And I was really excited thinking that's just going to make the nicest walking stick I've ever seen. And then I put the happy sauce on it and it all disappeared. And it's still really, really nice. But I lost all those fine colors. And if I can get the focus. So here I knurled it. These are all knurls which end right about here. And then in case you wanted to reverse it and use it as a poker or something, I brought the knurling up to right about there. So you got way over a foot of knurling on the ends, and in the center you just have this really, really pretty grain that the camera is probably not picking up. So, but that's Cocobolo. It does things that very few other woods do. It's technically a rosewood. There you can see that orange coming out. But where I had the purple was in the sapwood area, and I should have photographed it because it's hard to believe. And then the beeswax and oil, it just darkens it. So, pretty walking stick. I have been consistently less than well for a while now, so I haven't been doing much. Little things here and there, and that's what I just showed was probably a good portion of what I've done over the last few months, with the exception of, I think, a couple of spoons and a few other things. I've had some failures in the hair pieces, but not that anyone cares. I don't know how much I'll be producing. I'm feeling a bit better, hence the video, but I don't know how long that's going to last. So, I'll see you.